What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Tampa Bay Q&A. I'm excited to be with you guys. And if you are new to us, welcome as well. Tonight, we got some really cool topics that we're going to cover. Of course, we're going to get to all of your questions, but we are going to cover Governor Ron's tax plan that he rolled out for property owners here. This isn't the full removal of property taxes, but it is a good place to start. So I definitely want to get into that news with you guys. I also want to talk about all of the nonsense I saw on social media this weekend regarding real estate and how the sky is falling. One of my favorite quotes of all time is a man with the data is not at the mercy of a man with an opinion. And we're going to show you guys the facts and the details tonight. So I'm excited to share that with you. I also have a member of our team that I'm going to be introducing to you as well. I have been talking about our teammates for a while now, and I know that some of you are like, okay, who are they? We want to meet them. So we're definitely going to get into that shortly as well. But I want to welcome you. My name is Juan Alcalá. I am the host of this channel where we make all videos that are all things Tampa Bay, what it's like to live here, what it's like to work here, what it's like to play here, the food, the dining, the outdoors, the beaches, and the sunshine. Now, when it comes to this live stream, I want to give you some insights. If you look over to that chat, you'll see a bunch of people already having conversations, saying hello to each other, and we want to invite you to do the same. The thing I want you to be aware of is this is not a news broadcast where we're going to sit back and lecture you. We try to make this as interactive as possible. Yes, we have information that I do believe, and I know you're going to find valuable. However, we want to make this as interactive as possible, like I said. So feel free to connect with the other members in the audience here that are watching this with you and ask questions in real time. We are here to ask questions about what life is like living here in Tampa Bay. So want to make sure that you got that formal invite. I'm excited for tonight. And before we get into Governor DeSantis's tax plan here, and we're going to give you the details on this, I want to make a formal introduction of our guest hostess tonight, Miss Charlene Petrumbis. Good evening, Charlene.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you virtually and all your little comments over here already. A happy hello to everyone. I see we've got a bunch of people checking in. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, we invite you to that conversation. The thing I would like you guys to know is no, AI is not responding to anything in that chat. That is literally me. I'm typing during the show sometimes, typing why Charlene is talking or Stacy is talking. And if y'all are wondering where Stacy went, she did not leave us. She is just taking a Tuesday off. She has been here, I think, every week for a year. So we needed to give her a little bit of me time, and I'm happy. Hopefully she's stepping away, maybe getting her hair done or having tacos. The cooks are always on Taco Tuesday. Why not doing that as well? But just so you guys know who Charlene is and what she means to us. Charlene has come aboard. It's been a little over 2 months now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charlene.
You're correct.
Yeah. And Charlene is essentially a co-team leader with me here at the True Living Group. She's got 27 years in the business. And because of all of you wonderful people trusting in us to help you relocate to the area, it has become overwhelming, not only for myself, not only for Stacy, but we needed to bring more people on. And as you guys know, we lost part of our heart last year with losing Marcia, and I'll never stop talking about that woman because of what she meant to me. And what I know she meant to a lot of our clients. And it's been tough to overcome that loss. However, I know she would want us to continue to move forward and win. And Charlene is part of that winning team for us. So I want to introduce her and let you guys know that who she is and why we brought her in. And 27 years of experience, man, that's twice what I have. And between her and Stacy and Ashley and Madison and Sky and the rest of the team, which you will meet, I'm making an emphasis on bringing them in so we can introduce you to them as well. We feel like you're in the most capable hands, and all of these people were hand selected. The interview process was very rigorous, but what we know is we were looking, we were looking for people who are service focused, right? We get to do this. We don't have to do this. So number one, thank you. Thank you for giving us that opportunity to continue to grow our team. Thank you for trusting in us and your relocation and your local, buying and selling needs here as well. And we're grateful. So Charlene, welcome. We're happy to have you here, and she's gonna hang with us tonight. You know, this is her
Yes.
first. She's a little bit nervous too, but
Yeah.
it's more than capable of executing on anything we need. So we're happy to be with that. And let's say hello to everybody that's jumped in here really quick. Before we get into the governor's proposal, I just want to say hello. Feel free to connect with us in the chat if you're joining us late. Like we said, we got Kevin out in Lakeland. Kevin is an OG on the live streams. Happy to be with you, my man. Jane reaching out to from San Diego, California. Love that. Keith out from Ohio. My man, what's up, Keith? Good to see you as well. We got Carol reaching out. Good evening, Carol. We got Desiree, who is awesome. We've met so many of you on our Zoom calls. It's been incredible. So it's been a pleasure. Mr. Cook, shout out to Taco Tuesday. Big fan of that. Who else we got with us? What do we got? He says, why diggity? One day would move to Tampa. Stars need to align a job for the area and everything else. Yeah, most people do. So we understand that. Totally understood, my man. We got Corey up in Columbus. He says, hey, y'all. Corey tuning in from Columbus. As always, Denise, Desiree, Sassy, Lobo, Chris, Vlad. Hope all is well. Love that. We've got a great community here, y'all. They are connected with each other, and we love it. Mr. Ross, good evening, sir. Reaching out from Colorado as well. But yeah, man, so let's get into this news, because I know, we did this live stream, probably 3 weeks ago, where the governor had declared he wanted to remove property taxes in entirety, which everyone's like, yeah, heck yes, let's do it. That makes sense. We would love to see it. But how's that going to work? Well, it's going to take a little bit of massaging before we get to that. But what I do love about what the governor has already made a decision on is they are trying to get something over the table before the end of 2025. So I want to get into that with you guys and share what we got happening here. So this is straight from the governor's office. There's a great video on YouTube. It's like a 30-minute presentation they did where they talked about this, and I'll get into the weeds on it a little bit here. But this comes directly from the governor's office. So I'm gonna share this with you guys really quick. And this is his tax plan. It's turned into a rebate for 2025, which is awesome. Originally, it wasn't even a proposal yet. He just floated it. It sounded very much like political talk to me, to like get some attention, Charlene. And, I know a lot of people are like, well, what does this mean? We didn't know because there wasn't a formal proposal, but now they are actually pushing for this during the legislative session that is going on right now. So the governor's tax plan would be in the form of a rebate averaging $1,000 for each homesteaded property in the state. Now, I want to get clarity on what that means. I know this is small. Try to make this a little bit bigger. A homesteaded property means that is your primary residence in the United States, and it is in the state of Florida. Okay. There are other benefits to having a homesteaded property exemption. We're not going to get too far in the weeds on that tonight, but they limit the amount of tax increase you can have. I know there are a lot of states and a lot of residents who move from other states to us who are uncapped. Shout out to my people in Jersey. Right? We have those big tax bills that come every year, right? Which are crazy. So this is a huge benefit. But his quote directly says property taxes effectively require homeowners to pay rent to the government. Constitutional protections for Florida homeowners require approval of the voters in 2026. So that's why we were talking about this. Probably going to get pushed out till next year if they're able to do that. Now, in the meantime, Floridians need relief. I am today proposing a plan that will result in, on average, $1,000 rebate checks for each homestead as a discount on their property taxes. If the legislature acts on this plan now, we can get this done this year. Let's get this done for the people of Florida in this session. Now, I know people are going to have a whole bunch of questions. So here's what I need you to know. It's coming from. Here's how he says they would cover it. They would cover state mandated school property taxes. Okay, so that's where on our line items as Floridians, the state has the ability to get into that property taxes, because most of our property taxes are levied locally. Right, Charlene?
Yep.
Okay. And then there's an education portion as well. That is where the state can get involved. Okay. And what we have here in the state of Florida, because our state is run very well, regardless of your political lining, y'all, what you need to know is the state of Florida has a surplus. Our budget has a surplus of almost $41 billion. Okay. It's ran well. Okay. And this proposal would benefit over 5.1 million homestead properties across Florida. Now, why do we keep saying the homestead thing? Because what the governor has made very clear is that this benefit will only go to homesteaded properties, meaning Floridians. Okay. So that's awesome. All right. And I wanted to share this with everybody because this is a huge, and he made even mention on the video, he was like, look, if we can get this across the table, he goes, real estate is going to boom here in Florida again. And he made mention of the slowdown that we're having, because the reality is things are starting, the great migration is over. Okay. Florida is still moving a ton of people here. We will, and we always will, because people will chase sunshine. I know I am that human. Charlene, are you that human?
I'm that human.
Most of you watching this.
No more.
Yeah. Most of you watching this with us, we know are those people as well. So like we know that's a thing. We understand that. But migration across the country has slowed. Home buying has slowed. So we understand all those things. But I think this is wonderful. So if you're just tuning in a little bit late, y'all, we're just covering the governor's proposal to roll back taxes this year before they try to eliminate property taxes next year in the legislative session, where we'll have to vote on it in 2026. Yeah. So like I said before, I'm not sure if we're ever going to get to that point. Man, that would be an exciting thing. As a Florida property owner, listen, y'all, my taxes on my home are $8,000, 8,400 or something like that. 42 or 4,500 of that goes to the schools alone. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not here to argue whether there's value there or not. What I know is that my elderly neighbors who have been living on a fixed income for the last 25 years are struggling. Yeah. People who are on fixed incomes are struggling. And paying rent on something that we don't do this on anything else we own in this country. Okay. When you buy a television, you buy a pair of jeans, you buy what, you don't get taxed at the end of the year on that thing again. It's nonsense. Right. So I'm a huge proponent of this. I do, however, want to make sure that our necessary services are funded. So I'm on both sides of this. I would like to see a very well-written proposal before I vote on anything. But I'm here to let you know that I think, just like most people, I believe that this tax is robbery at the end of the day. But I live in the United States. I have benefits. These are the things we have to exchange. This is the reality of it. And I'm not the one who can get the bill across the table. So I'm just sharing this with you guys right on the proposal. I love the fact that they are trying to do something now rather than just waiting for next year and trying to get this vote across. I love when I see people take action. And that's one thing our state is known for. I am extremely proud of that. Right? Don't care about a whole lot of other stuff. I love when people, that's the thing I love about math. It has no opinion. Math has no opinion. It just is true or false. Right? So shout out to the governor for making a run at this. I love it. Big fan of that. Let me say hi to Debbie Campbell as we get in this. And we got some really cool stuff coming up on real estate, because this weekend was very interesting. So I'm going to share that with you guys in a second here. But let me just say
question too.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. All right. Let me say hello to anybody else we didn't say hi to. Jacob, good evening, sir. Sorry, guys. I'm looking down and looking at your comments here. Can't see in the camera, obviously. So just wanted to say hello on that. Mark Ross says, are the requirements to meet Homestead's status outside of establishing a permanent residence? Are there requirements? Okay, Charlene, go ahead and take this. What are the requirements for homesteading?
You actually have to make sure that you complete the Homestead form, which is actually online. So that's easy to get to.
At the tax assessor's office.
Yep, at the tax assessor's office within your county, obviously, where you're going to reside. And one thing that you should know is there are other additions that you can add to your homestead exemptions. For instance, if you're a disabled veteran, I'm not qualified to tell you exactly what you need for each one, but that application very clearly lays out questions for you to answer. And according to your answers to those questions, it will tell you what you qualify and what you don't qualify for. So at bare minimum, you've got, what is it, $50,000 per married couple, Juan, on a residence.
Yep.
So that's the bare minimum. Other than that, there are no other real requirements. You just have to be a resident of Florida. And that homestead will take place a year after you've been a homeowner. So you do have some time to apply for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I try my very best to make sure that I get that information. And I know our whole team does get that information upon settlement, upon closing. We try to get that to you right away so that you do not forget to do it.
Yeah, the following tax year. So like, think of it this way. If you buy a home in March, you're going to file for your homestead exemption for the following year. That's how it's going to work, just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go right to the property assessor's website. It's $25,000 off the, so the way that this works is they base your taxes off the assessed value of the home here in Florida. Okay. Now, what I have seen is the assessors do a pretty good job of evaluating property values here in the state of Florida. They're usually pretty close. What does that mean? I want to give you a tangible example. If you're a single individual and you buy a $500,000 home, okay, and they assess that the value of that home at $500,000 on that property, as an example, you would get a $25,000 reduction off the assessed value. So it would go to $475,000, and then you would multiply the $475,000 evaluation times whatever the millage rates are. It depends on where you live. It can be as much as 1.8%. It can be as low as 1.2%. Depends on where you are in the area. But that's how you get to that number. If you're married, like Charlene said, now you're eligible for $50,000 for you and your spouse. So that $500,000 would now be taxed at that $450,000 mark. Multiply times the 1.2 to 1.8, wherever you guys are living, just as an example. Now, we do have, here's a good example. Jane says that her husband is 100% disabled from military, and we are glad we don't have to pay property tax. But the property tax proposal will help a lot of people. Amen. So I wanted to get to this specifically because right now, the requirement is 100% disability for a veteran in order to get any property taxes removed. It's 100% or nothing. But here's what's cool. If you are 100% a disabled vet, then you are eligible with your homestead exemption to not pay any property tax in the state of Florida. So you already have that benefit that we're all trying to get to. And shout out to you for serving our country. So I want to make sure that we recognize that. But thank you for sharing that, Jane. That's an awesome share. So I wanted to make sure that we cover that. Hopefully that answers some questions there for you, Mark. I know we got a little bit deep on that, but this is a topic that a lot of people want to know about, right? Because like property, I mean, I was talking to a client the other day, their property taxes are $18,000, right? They're $18,000 and they went up another $7,000. They're going up to like 25. It's nuts what people are getting hit with when they're uncapped, don't have any regulations around them. And here's the other benefit of having a homestead exemption in the state of Florida. Your property taxes cannot increase more than 3% in any one year or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. Okay. So if the Federal Reserve, I mean, we're hovering around right around 2.6 right now. I think 2.7 is when it came in last week. If they get it back to 2%, that means that the assessor can't move your taxes up any more than 2%. Right. That's pretty awesome. Right. And there's portability and other things too. But the reality is I love the concept of no taxes, as I'm sure we all do. And again, I want our schools to be funded. I want our police to be funded. Please don't hear that and think I'm somebody who doesn't believe in those things. I absolutely believe in all of those things. But what I know is, right, we have waste, we have bloat, and there are other ways that we can get to that reality or some portion of it. All right. So that's the thing I wanted to get to when I'm talking about the approach here. So shout out to the conversation so far. Good evening, Debbie. Good evening. Great to see you. Shout out to Parrish, by the way, for those of you wondering. Okay. Shannon says, well said. I completely agree. Quick question. Does Florida have a personal property tax on vehicles? This is a good one. This is another one. This is why when we get into this stuff about taxes, they do here too. But I want to get into the specifics of it because it's different in every state. What we noticed is, so here's, I want to give you guys a little hack first. Okay. If you buy a home outside of this, or I'm sorry, if you buy an automobile outside of the state of Florida and you move here within 6 months, they're going to tax you again on that when you arrive. So don't do that. All right. Buy the vehicle 6 months and 1 day before you move, or wait till you come to Florida. That's the first thing I want you guys to know. Okay. I didn't make that mistake and I don't know anyone that has yet, but don't make that mistake. That's not broadcast anywhere. Okay. Now, when you buy a vehicle here, yes, you're going to pay a registration fee. You can pay that registration fee for a year. I think we paid ours for 2 or 3, Charlene.
2. Max
2.
is 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the first hit was pretty big, but the second one was negligible. It was like nothing, 25 or 35 bucks. And that's what it is moving forward. It's usually pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
So they get that from sales taxes. There's tolls and other things too, Chandlin, just so you're aware. But you will have to pay an initial, for your plates and for your initial registration. But the fee for the registration annually is nominal. Yeah. Okay. And so good question. That's a great question. Another team member says hello. Good evening, Sky. Good to see you.
Hi, Sky.
Love that. Danielle says, I wonder how CDD would be paid then, since they aren't usually rolled into the taxes. They are. Great question. CDD, which stands for what, Charlene?
That is your community development district. And I do have one of those suckers. So I hear you, Danielle.
Yeah. And they are rolled in. Well, they show up on your tax bill. So like what I want to clarify to everybody, this community development district fee that she's asking about, this is what that really is 2 things. Number one, it's a loan in the form of a grant from typically the local government or county or state. And who borrows that money is the developer. So when they go out and develop these new neighborhoods, they're borrowing money from either the state or the local government. 99% of the time I've seen it's been the local government. So it's the county and the city, right? But let's say, as an example, Pasco County, where Wesley Chapel is. Let's say it costs $300 million to develop the infrastructure. So we're talking about roads and sewage and holding reservoirs and internet and cable and all that stuff, right? They got to develop all of that. Well, the cities and the counties don't do that anymore, right? Almost nowhere in this country will they do that anymore. They used to do all that stuff, right? When I lived up in Metro Detroit, a lot of our cities were on the hook for the infrastructure, right? But now what they're doing is they're putting that on the developers. Well, we all know the developers aren't going to hold on to that 30-year note. That's usually what it is for the next 30 years. They're going to hand it to who? So what happens is that shows up on your tax bill annually as well, because you're paying the county back that money. A portion of that goes towards repair and maintenance for the area, and a majority of that goes to pay back that bond, which is nothing more than a loan. Okay, so just so everybody, for those wondering what the heck we're talking about, they're called different things across the country. Here in Florida, they call them a community development district fee, a CDD fee. Yeah. Okay, and that will be on top of an HOA if there is one. Okay, not all communities have a CDD fee. It's very rare that a newer community doesn't, but there are communities that don't have those fees. Okay, but the con usually is you're not going to have the maintenance that you're hoping for on those communities. So be careful. Know what you're getting into on both of those ends when it comes to those fees. They're pretty important. Another great question here. And we're going to get into some real estate specifics here, y'all, because I do want to share some stuff with you guys, because we're getting a lot of the questions that I'm about to answer in our Zoom calls when people reach out to us. And by the way, if you would like to get in contact with us, that's very easy to do. You can just go to thattampalife.com and then go to the contact page. You can text that number directly. That'll send you right to here. You guys can chat with me. And I'll put the link in the chat as well, but you can schedule a Zoom call that's most convenient for you. Okay, so I want to get into this question from Abby. She says, is there a vehicle inspection fee when you bring your car to the state?
No.
Friends mentioned something like this.
No.
Yeah, we don't have one of those.
No, we don't. Virginia, Maryland, DC, your northern states, very common if you're from there.
Yeah, North Carolina does too, I think.
Carolina probably.
Yeah, we do not have any of that here in the state of Florida. So you could you could get away with not having the best muffler or whatever, I think, right? I know they hold people hostage over stuff up north like
It's
that, but
brakes, tires, muffler,
yeah.
headlamps.
Yeah, exactly. They do all the things to make sure your car is roadworthy in those, but we don't do that here in the state of Florida. Abby asks, does the CDD ever fall off? The loan portion of the CD will expire at whatever the date is. There, we usually see them 30 years. They can make that structure for whatever they want. It depends on the specific community, but you will always have a portion for repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't know what that's going to be in the future because inflation will dictate what that looks like or doesn't. But we've seen those hold pretty steady. It's the HOA fees on the condos and townhomes that tend to get wild. Single family home, not as much in our experience so far. So just sharing that with you guys. Okay, great question, Abby. All right. Chandlin, do you pay taxes each year on your vehicle? In Missouri, we pay, no. All you're paying is a registration fee. For the license plate. Like I said, it's nominal. I think I paid $25 or $35 for the second year we had to pay that, whatever it was.
And you can transfer that license plate to another vehicle too. So if you purchase a new vehicle and you don't want to re-register it altogether, you can just transfer it. It's a much lower fee.
Yep. Yeah. Keith says like an auto emissions test. Yes, we don't have that here.
No, we're Florida.
Yep. Bring a car. You guys will be fine.
Yep.
We're pretty laid back on that. All right. Now I want to get into this weekend. And the reason I'm diving deep on this topic is because our Zoom calls, obviously over the last 5 years, real estate in general has been nuts. And I mean nuts. I mean, Charlene, you've been in this business for 27 years. This is coming up on my 14th year. I got in at the very bottom, right? 2012 was when I got licensed July. That was literally like the very last day of like, we're at the end of the universe in terms
where everybody was crying, the last day of crying.
Exactly. The last day of crying. Well, my first home sales were all short sales and you know the deal. Everything was a mess back then, right? Government owned properties and all this stuff. But since then, the market has increased. And then we got to 2020 and the world flipped upside down in real estate. And I've shared this so many times with our potential clients, like that was not real. Okay. From 2020 all the way into 2022, that was Wally World with 0% interest rates and people were getting mortgages at 2%. The last time I saw 2% mortgages when they were trying to keep people in their houses, right? Because they used to turn in their keys back in 2008 to 2012. They would call the bank and be like, we can't make the payments. And the bank would be like, we'll reduce your mortgage to 2% or whatever. Like, so that was that very first time I'd ever saw that. And over the weekend, a very well-known conservative podcast host made a post. And I'm going to share this with you guys because I think it's pertinent to understand. And I actually, I have a lot of respect for Patrick Bet-David as a host of his podcast. I think he's got some great insights. I don't agree with everything the man says, but what I want to share with you guys is this came up over the weekend and I saw a lot of people sharing this and there's a lot of anxiety around what's happening in the market right now, right? The stock market, the real estate market, again, our government is making changes. I'm not here to argue whether they're right or wrong. I have to live in whatever happens either way. Right, Charlene? That's where we are. Tomorrow, I got to wake up and put my shoes on the same as y'all. Flip-flops, actually. I don't wear shoes. All right. But this came up. And as soon as I saw this, and I made this quote earlier, right? A man with the data is never at the mercy of a man with an opinion. And I don't know whose quote that is. It's not mine. And I assure you it's somebody much brighter than me. Okay. But when people start throwing around comments, the first thing I do is start looking for data. Now, I always try to be as cautious as I can because I'm a human being. I'm going to have bias. I know that about myself, right? But I always start looking at the data immediately. And, there's this big, bold statement. And you may have seen this. You may not have. But 6.1 million Americans are behind on their mortgages. The highest in 20 plus years. Brace for impact. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. Right. And I was looking at this chart and as I'm looking at the chart, I know you guys can't see this. Okay. But I'm going to put this post so you guys can look at it on your phone and really dial into this before we wrap up, just so you know. But what this says down here is serious delinquency rates, multifamily. Multifamily. You know what is not 6.1 million Americans behind on their mortgage? That says to me, Charlene, that 6.1 million Americans are behind on their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Multifamily means apartments.
Yes.
Quads, right?
Condos.
Could be duplexes as well, right? Yeah. This is commercial. Okay. Why is that important? Well, first of all, your statement doesn't line up with your data. So someone took some data and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys the reality of this. And Mr. Bet David had been called out so many times that he has since amended this tweet. Okay. And I'm going to show you the new version of this. This was the version that he rolled out 3 days ago.
This is the version I saw. I'd like to see the new version.
Yeah, I'm going to show it to you. Right. So I want you guys to, and we'll come back to it. Okay. But here's what I want to get into. A man or woman with the data is not at the mercy of a man or woman with an opinion. Okay. So I'm going to show you the reality of this. Okay. Now, this comes from one of my favorite writers in real estate. His name is Logan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Mastahami. I don't know. He's incredibly gifted at sorting through all of the numbers, right? And getting you the information that you need to make qualified decisions. And what I'm sharing with you now, I want you to know, you don't have to take what I'm about to say as the gospel. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to do your own homework. Juan is not here to sell you anything. Charlene's not here to sell you anything. But what I will not let people do is sell you a bill of goods that is inaccurate and is obviously inaccurate. Okay. So Logan saw this and he was like, hold on. He even commented on it, right? Hold on, right? No homeowner delinquency rates are not elevated. In fact, ICE, and this is one of the largest data companies that focuses on mortgages, right, shows that we aren't even back to pre-pandemic levels. Okay. Now I'm going to get into this. He showed the chart that was, he didn't call out Mr. Bet David here, but he showed the chart that they were talking to. He definitely said, notably, the rate multifamily delinquencies currently stand under 1%, right? That is a rate above 2008, but it's for multifamily, right? However, there is a big difference between apartment lending and homeowners who have a 30-year fixed mortgage. Mm-hmm. We agree with that. Correct, Charlene?
Correcto.
All right. Now he goes down into the data, right? Now, for the data for homeowners into delinquency rates, let's look at the most recent data from ICE, right? Which shows that we aren't even back to pre-COVID-19 levels from their first look report of March this year, okay? The national delinquency rate edged up 5 basis points to 3.53% in February. That's up 19 basis points from a year ago, but still 32 basis points below where it was entering the pandemic. Okay, that's important to know. He did talk about FHA mortgages accounted for 90% of the 131,000 year over year rise in the number of delinquencies. He said that. He also talked about how 4,100 homeowners in Los Angeles are now past due as a result of the wildfires.
That's my question to you, Juan. Yeah, I was curious about the
natural details of that, right? Okay. And he said, I prefer not to dwell on this misunderstanding, but I want to highlight the importance of reading the chart that was used to start this confusion, specifically referencing multifamily data. Okay. So now he goes back to, this data comes from the Fed. Okay. Right. So this is the Federal Reserve. The New York Fed is the data where this is coming from. Okay. This takes into account the total balance of delinquencies for 30-day late, 60-day late, 90-day late, 120, and severely derogatory. As you guys can see on this chart, this goes to Q4 of 2024 on the end here, and it goes all the way back of Q1 of 03. So that's how far you're looking back on this chart. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, Charlene, we know how crazy things got in 2008, right? So 08, Q2, 09 was the peak of that mess, and then it started to fall. But the thing I want you guys to look at, y'all, here is COVID, right? This line right here, this red line that I'm drawing, that's the beginning of COVID. That is pre-pandemic. right where everything falls off. I'm going to draw a straight line back here as best as I possibly can. Let me get to my tool. Hopefully I can do it the right way. It was hiding from me because I'm off to the side. There we go. Let me get back to my line here. Here is your straight line across. Okay. As you guys can see, we aren't even back to those levels. That's the first thing I want everybody to understand. We are not even back to pre-COVID levels, number one. Number two, foreclosures and new bankruptcies are still below pre-pandemic. Look how small those lines are on the right-hand side here. Look how below that is going back to, again, Q1 of 03. So when people start on this, like the sky is falling, real estate, please do your homework and look at the fundamentals behind what is happening. Now, I want to share that real estate is local. Where you are may be different than this, but the health of real estate in the United States, while it is wildly unaffordable, right? What you're not seeing is a massive amount of serious delinquencies that are going to get you anywhere near that 08, 09 situation that you had up here. Okay. We're not trending in that direction. We are not anywhere near that status. And there are other things I want to bring into account here, Charlene, but I wanted to start here. So this is not 08. Stop saying that. Stop listening to anyone who's saying that. They don't have their crap together. And I'm happy to have that conversation. Invite any one of them on this live stream with me. Okay. So that's the first thing I want to share.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Right. So love these. Now I want to show this next slide here. So here's a better chart, a little bit easier. It's bigger. Here are serious delinquency rates, the 90+ day foreclosures. Okay. This is according to Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and the blue marks are the recessions. Okay, so if you look at where we are today, this is us. We're not back to pre-pandemic. We got to stop talking about this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing I want to share with this. Okay, Logan. Now here's another thing that I love here, and I don't know how to make this any bigger. Let me see if I can. There we go. All right, this is from Logan. I love it. He says the Great American Cash Cushion, and this is where we really get into this stuff. Okay, I just showed you how delinquencies and bankruptcies and all that stuff isn't where we were in 2008, especially, and we're not even back to where we are pre-pandemic. But what that doesn't tell the whole story. That tells a part of the story, and that's how data gets out of whack, right, Charlene? So what we need to look at is how much equity people have in their home. All right, 82% of borrowers in the United States have at least 30% equity in their home. That's 82% of the borrowers. So I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys know how many homes in the United States are owned outright? Because that would be a piece of information that would help you make better qualified decisions with this, wouldn't it, Charlene? It's nice to know that 82% of them have 30% of equity. But the next question that leads me to was how many people don't even have a mortgage?
Yeah.
So if you guys had to guess in the audience, could you tell me? And if you're watching this later, let me know before I show you the chart. Right? I'd love to know what you guys' thoughts are. How many people in the United States don't even have a mortgage? Because this one is one that I think will help blow people's minds. Right? We got, what's that?
He said it's actually shocking.
It is shocking. So I'm going to share this number with you guys because I know people want to know. More Americans are mortgage-free homeowners. According to the Census Bureau, the United States Census Bureau, good guess, Mark.
Yeah.
Nearly 40% of this country is mortgage-free. 40. So let's go back to what we were just looking at. So hold on. So Juan, what I'm hearing you say is 82% of borrowers have at least 30% equity in their home, right? Almost 40% of them don't even have a mortgage, right? And then here's another one I want to help you guys really understand. This is from January 2nd of 2025, this information I'm sharing with you guys right now, okay? According to newly released third quarter data from FHFA, 73% of U.S. mortgage borrowers in the United States currently have interest rates of 5% or below. This marks a 12.2% point decline from the historic Q1 level of 85.5%. Y'all look at this chart. Okay, I want you guys to see this. This is the 6%. So everybody thinking that everybody's going to lose their mortgages, only 17% of all mortgages in the United States are set 6% or greater. 5 to 6% are 9.5. 4 to 5% mortgages are 18%. And this is where it starts to get wild. 3 to 4% mortgages take up almost 34% of all the mortgages in the United States. And lastly, 3% or lower are 21.2.
Those people are loving it.
So when people start coming at you with all of this wild nonsense, please do yourself a favor, take a step back, ask why. Usually the people that are advocating a crash don't own anything. That's the first thing that I have discovered over time. They don't own assets, and they most certainly don't own real estate. But when I look at all this data, what it tells me is, first of all, Charlene, I helped homeowners sell their homes in 2012 that were underwater. I'm sorry, that lost their jobs because I lived in Metro Detroit. They weren't underwater on their property. They had $100,000 in equity, but I helped them sell those homes, even though they were behind on their mortgage. Why? Because they had a 3% interest rate. They had equity in the house. And what we did is we helped them sell that home, pay off all that outstanding debt, not have a bankrupt, they were able to pay off their bankruptcy proceedings in clear, pay off their before they went into foreclosure fully, right? And then walk away and start their life over again without having those giant albatrosses on their neck because they had equity in their property. And I'm here to tell you guys right now, the amount of investors I talk to on a daily basis that want to buy these 3 and 4% mortgages from people, if it is an FHA mortgage, you know what that means? It is an assumable mortgage in the United States. If someone has a 4% assumable mortgage in the United States, I promise you I have an investor ready to buy that from them. That home is rarely going to get to foreclosure market. Okay. So I know I'm sounding pretty strong about this, but like, I just can't stand around and watch people just make claims that aren't real. Now, are there challenges in specific market? Yes. Lee County, Cape Coral, they have 10 months of inventory right now. Their market is definitely a buyer's market, and there is pain there if you bought a year ago and you had to sell it. There's no doubt about that. We have downward pressure on our market, even though we finished up, what did we finish up last month? 5.4% in total, as you guys can see here. And our single family homes, Charlene, we're up almost 8% last month, but we do have downward pressure, but this is not abnormal. I want to take a quick second and show you guys some stuff. I know I'm nerding out on this, y'all. If you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I'm getting a little heated here, but it just makes me nuts looking at this. All right. Look at this chart. February of 2025. We had a dip in January of 2025. That's when everybody started losing their mind. All the market's going to tank. It's a mess. Florida's crazy. Then we bounced up almost 8% the next month. But here's what I want you guys to do. When you get all funky, right? When things get all funky, can you hear me, Charlene?
I can hear you fine. I was looking at Jane. Yes.
Perfect. I want to make sure that when things get all funky, go back and look at the history. So here's what I want to show you. January 25, there's a dip. January 24, there's a dip. Charlene, what do you think is going to happen? January 23 was up a little bit, but the dip was in December, right? Guys, if I go back and show you this for the last 50 years, what do you think you're going to see every January and December? A dip. Stop with that nonsense. All right. Again, look at the local stuff. Where you're going, where is the market going? Again, I know we got places in New Jersey that are selling over ask. It's wild nuts up there again. Right. And down here, we're not multiple offers unless it's the absolute best property. Okay. But the reality is that the overall real estate market is much healthier than that nonsense of a post that you guys saw. Okay. And lastly, I want to share this before I show you the correction they made on the post. This chart here, and I think it's as big as apparently I can make it bigger.
I can't see nothing but white.
Yeah, I screwed the whole thing up there. Let me see. There we go. This chart here is the percentage of homes owned free and clear by state. Okay. The darker it is, the more homes that are owned free and clear without a mortgage. So I thought this was pretty cool, Charlene. So what it also did is it got in the weeds and this is from the U.S. Census Bureau. Again, this isn't wild info. According to our government, if you don't believe them, that's fine, right? But according to our government, cities with the most residents who have paid off their home, okay, this is great. These are the top large metros. And if you're unaware, Tampa is the 17th largest metropolitan area in the country by population as of today, okay? Miami is number 6 on this list. Almost 31% of Miamians don't have a mortgage, right? Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, 29.7. So roughly 30% of us don't have a mortgage. Okay. So when you guys are looking at this, please take a step back, wrap your mind around the info, and ask yourself the questions. If you're speculating with real estate, it doesn't matter what any of this data is. You're living month to month anyways, right? But if you're considering buying or selling your primary residence, then it is definitely prudent to understand what is happening in the marketplace. The macro, which is the general market, the United States real estate market, and your local market. Because y'all, I'm here to tell you, we got areas that are sucking it up right now, and we got areas that are crushing it. That's how you get to an 8% increase on your single home values, right? Condo markets, if you own a condo that's more than 3 stories and that thing is more than 30 years old, God bless you. That's a tough market to be in right now, right? But single family, especially near the coast, dude, people always want to be around the sunshine. Okay. Now, the other thing here, Charlene, because people are like, well, you can see it's trending up. And there's, if you get back to those levels, it's dangerous. Well, that could be true, except for one little thing that everybody always leaves out of these conversations. This is from the Federal Reserve, St. Louis Fed, right? This is the population growth from 2004. I went back to when all those charts I showed you earlier to today. Let me read these numbers. So back in 2004, there were 898 U.S. citizens that filed tax returns that year, right? 292. So 292 million. Does anybody want to guess what it was as of the end? And this is far, we haven't done the new census, but in the end of 2023, 334 million, almost 335 million. So that is essentially an increase of what? 40 million more people live in this country. So you take into account, if you even go back to those sneaky charts and say, well, once it gets back to this level, we got problems. No, because there was 40 million less people that lived in this country over here. 40 million, right? That's nuts when you think about it. Sorry, I don't know what's happening there, but 40 million less people. Okay, so now I want to get back to what Mr. Bet David said. Now, let me go back to the original post that I showed you guys when we started this whole thing. Here was the original post. 6.1 million Americans are behind on their mortgage. Again, basically saying that their single family residence or their condos or townhomes were underwater. The highest in 20 years. Brace for impact. That's a very bold statement. Right? Well, after their team was called out for said chart, what does it say now? 6.1 million Americans are behind on their mortgage. This chart is specific to multifamily delinquencies.
Nice correction.
Funny how that works out when somebody actually brings the facts to the table, right? So if I sound passionate about this, I am. I will say this last thing about this subject, and I want to get back in your questions. He or she who lives by the crystal ball is destined to eat glass. That's a quote from Ray Dalio. And I believe that. I'm not here to be your real estate guru, but what I will not be is a bystander who sits back and lets people propagate propaganda about the very thing that I study every single day. And I do not claim to be an economist. What I am is a real estate practitioner who knows my market and also studies the market. And 40 million more Americans that we can actually document. That doesn't even include all the people who have walked into this country over the last 4 years. And I'm not here to argue whether that's right or wrong. I just want you to know that there's a bunch more people here that you haven't documented yet. So that 40 million mark could be as much as 50 years. I don't know what that number is, but I know we don't have enough housing units in the United States. And no matter what anyone is telling you about, look at this market and there's all these homes on the inventory. Yes, but they're not even accounting for all the people here. I heard a real estate agent come out today and say that there is as much inventory in Tampa Bay as there was in 2018. Well, yeah, that was considered a normal market, first of all, right? That's the first thing. Charlene, how many more people have moved to Tampa Bay since 2018?
A gazillion.
Almost 50,000.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Like,
yeah.
Guys, you have to think outside of just the normal nonsense. You want to read headlines? That's fine. But don't bring that stuff in here because I'm going to check you on it. All right? I'm going to check you on it. So with that, I realize I got a little bit heated. I want to come back with the comments, but I just refuse to let nonsense like that take place. So shout out to Logan for calling that out, all of his great work. I love Housing Wire. It's a great resource. There are a lot of great free resources that you guys can do homework on. I think it's very important for you guys to do that. These are great questions. I want to get to your comments during this time too. Carol says, nice. I want to be part of that 40%. Everybody wants to be part of that.
Me too.
There is no doubt about that. 40% equals more than 34 million homeowners fully paid off. And that's exactly right. That's a great point, Jane. That's a great point. B says there's too many counties and too many homes in Lee County sold for 800,000, really worth 5. Worth is a subjective statement. And B, while I understand some people, I hear people still tell me, I don't want to overpay. Well, I don't know what that means. Overpay means what it means to you, right? Because value is in the eye of the beholder, and value is in the eye of the beholder who can write the check. Okay, not, again, 40% of this country doesn't have a mortgage. They don't care what the interest rates are, number one. If they want the thing, they can purchase it. Okay, now, is it worth it to them? I don't know. Is Lee County experiencing a correction in real estate values? Yes, they are, right? Because there's less people moving to a secondary market. Y'all, I'm here to tell you, Cape Coral is that's not a primary market in the United States. Okay, we're talking about Tampa's a metro. Metros are entirely different. We have our own, we have everything we need there. When you live in places like Cape Coral in those areas, you have to go out. Yeah. All right. And I'm not here to argue whether it's better or worse. I'm just here to say, anytime you're in a secondary market, you are always the first to feel any change. Shout out to Lakeland. Ask Lakeland how it's going right now. Right. And again, not here to say that we aren't seeing challenges. We're going to continue to see challenges because we have uncertainty in our marketplace. But please do your homework. All we're trying to figure out is where the puck is going. Right. That's the best thing I can share with anybody. Where is the puck going? All right. And I didn't even get into the whole thing of like primary residents in the United States return 40% on average every decade. And you can argue that 6 ways from Sunday, and I'll show you a chart that goes back all the way to the Great Depression. Right? In the last 5 years, it's been more than that. And I'm still willing to say, okay, Charlene, I'll give you the example. When we moved into our house in 2018 in Tampa, that house was $383,000. Based upon what I know, that house should be worth approximately $750,000 after a decade. Okay? That house is valued somewhere around that number today. If I had a 20% correction over the next 2 years, that means I still got 3 years to get back to that 750, which I'm going to, right? Yep. And I know that's the reality of that real estate. And if I hold on to that house for 2 decades, my life is going to change. If I hold on to that house and pay that mortgage off, my children's life will be changed.
Exactly.
And ask anybody who bought a home in New Jersey for $180,000 that's now worth 1.5, right? Or in St. Pete, or I can go all up and down the United States. Okay? So that's something to take note of. Great question. Great point. All right, let's get into some of these. What's the percentage of adjustable rate mortgages versus fixed? Didn't ARMS have the biggest impact in 2008? Yeah, well, there was the Ninja loans, which is no income. No income, no job. What was the Ninja called? I can't remember the short.
It was no income, no verification.
Crazy, right?
No paper, basically.
Yeah. that the quality of mortgages in the United States is dramatically different, Mark, compared to 2008. If you go to that ICE website, it'll show you the percentage. I don't know off the top of my head. I used to show this stuff every month, but no one showed any interest in it, so I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it, and I was like, all right, that's not what you guys want to see. But it's low. The percentage of adjustable rate mortgages is there's not enough inventory there to impact our market, if that's what you're thinking about. Juan's fired up tonight. That's good for clicks. And I don't know that it's good for views because, like I said, I don't think people love when I talk about this stuff. But I've been asked enough on our Zoom calls where it was time to have this discussion. So forgive me, y'all. Let me know. Do you like this content? Right? We have a much larger audience now than when I used to do this before, but I would love to know from you guys. You asked for some of this. This is why I was willing to come do it, but I want to know how you feel about the content we're sharing tonight. Again, I got into a specific example rather than getting into the weeds of just the overall health of the market. So I think that was important. Brian says, okay, what do we need to do? Yes, exactly. Yeah. No mortgage. I'm on team no mortgage. Let's do that all the way. Lokren says, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Lokren. That's probably Lokren. Was it Laura? I don't know. Lorcan. I'm sorry. We're trying. Forgive me. Thoughts on Florida moving from Ireland here. The only problem is weather. We've moved several families across the pond, and 2 of them from Ireland specifically. So if you want to connect with us, feel free to do that. Y'all, I'll put our contact in the chat too. It's on the screen. You know, you guys already have access to me. Feel free to schedule that Zoom call if you want to ask deeper questions, because that's what we're here to do. Again, I'm not here trying to tell you what you should do. I'm just helping you guys find the same information. I'll share all of my resources tonight on the YouTube description, in the YouTube description below afterwards, so you guys can go through that at your own leisure. All right, I'm not gatekeeping, and everything I showed you was public. Okay, so try to do that as much as possible when we're on these calls. We're on every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. if you guys want to know that. Madison, what's up? She says, hey, Tampa Bay.
Hey, Madison.
Yeah, no income, no job, no assets. Yep, ninja. There you go. Way to go, Sky. I guarantee she Googled it. You wouldn't even, Sky, like, you were in high school when those things were going on? I don't even think so.
She was
love that.
She was like 1 or 2. Yeah,
Danielle says, I'm here for it. I'm assuming you're talking about the info. Yeah, awesome. Desiree says, yep, keep it coming. Sandra says, thanks so much for providing the valuable service. Well, we appreciate, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. Yes. Definitely happy to bring that. Jane says, yes, I need to learn more, please. Okay. Well, guys, we're happy to share that. In, again, happy to get in the weeds about this content. And again, I just want to make sure that you have the information you need to make a qualified decision. It's not for us and our team. I know people think that real estate, I've heard the comments like, you guys are as bad as car salesmen. I don't know what that means. I appreciate a good car salesman, by the way. Listen, I don't like going to, Charlene, do you like going to the dealership? Does anyone like going to the dealership?
Probably the worst thing to do in the world.
It's terrible, right?
But coming to us is not. It's not the worst or the best.
Yeah. So, and this is what I'm sharing. That experience, I think, is where people get that from, because there is this whole, like, the manager's got to come. I get it, right? They're trying to sell stuff. Look, that's how they make money, y'all. But what I love, what I love is a great car salesman, right? When I was in Detroit, and I hate going back to the old stuff, right? But when I was there, my car salesman would call me like, Juan, we're swapping out your vehicle. I'm getting you this. The deals are crazy. I'm going to buy back your old vehicle at this, and I'm going to deliver it to your house. Done. Right? Sounds like a great plan. Let's roll. Right? I got to Florida, and they're like, you got to come to the dealership. They wouldn't even deliver the thing. I had to argue. I was like, fine, I'm not buying it. Magically, the car showed up at my house because I was like, I'm not coming back. You want me to buy it? Bring it to the house. I'll sign the paperwork. I'm not spending another hour on the road and sitting there while you guys fill out the paperwork. So you can try to sell me the wheel protection or whatever. Right? And that's not the focus, right? So, like, again, I understand, but what I want you guys to know is we treat this as a profession. Okay? I get to sell real estate. I don't have to. I know that our skills we could apply to any business and be successful, but we get to serve you, and I love it. All right. This industry has treated me and my family way better than I can imagine. So when I come on here, I am definitely passionate about this. I know things aren't going to be great forever. There are always ebbs and flows in every market. What are you trying to do? Are you speculating? Are you buying a home you're going to live in? You got to live somewhere. You can pay my rent, or you can pay your mortgage. It's up to you. Right. And that's the other thing too. People never take into account. They're like, well, if I buy it at this price and the market goes down, well, first and foremost, you're guessing. And again, if you wait 10 years, the market will outpace you because it's proven to do that. But if the market takes a crap, you know what you get to do? You get to refinance your house at that wild 3% or 5%. Now, I'm not saying it's ever going to get back there. I don't want the economy to ever be in a condition again in my lifetime where I see a 3% mortgage. However, if it does, your boy's going to take advantage of it. And now my home that I bought for $483, I'm going to be paying on that house like I bought a $383,000 house. This is where people don't think about stuff. Yeah. And with affordability in the United States being the biggest problem that it is, right? That first-time home buyer, y'all, I have gotten more reach outs about rentals this year than I have in my entire career.
We've gotten tons.
And we don't even talk about it. And you know who it is? It's the person who has somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 to spend on rent every month. You know who that is? The first-time home buyer. Mm-hmm. You know what they can't afford anymore? Typically is that first-time home. Sucks. And I'm not accusing anybody of not being in position. I just want you to know that's the reality. The numbers don't lie. The average first-time home buyer in the United States last year was 39 years old. I bought my first house when I was 23. I'm 47. Right? I don't see very many 23-year-olds buying houses. I don't see very many 28-year-olds buying houses. It's hard to do. Right? And people get wealthy off of real estate if they hold it.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm not in here preaching prosperity or wealth. That's not the thing. But what I need you guys to know is real estate is a real asset. And in times of uncertainty, people run there. Okay? We don't have enough houses. People can't afford entry-level housing, right? And that's where we are in the United States. I don't know what's going to be in the next month, right? Tomorrow is Freedom Day or whatever day they're calling that when they're about to slap all these tariffs on everybody. The market's going to freak. Here's what I know about tomorrow. You guys want to know? Here's my crystal ball. The market's going to freak out, right? The stock market is going to freak out tomorrow. I don't know what that's going to look like. By the end of the day, it might be right back to where it was. But those people are going to lose their minds. All right. I know that's going to happen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to dollar cost average all the way down to whatever. And I'm going to hold on to that. And at some point, I'll sell it in the future when I retire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the reality of it. Same thing with my real estate. So I know I got fired up. Thanks for hanging with me. And I didn't even get to half the comments on Instagram. So forgive me, y'all. I appreciate that. And I know it's hard. Like one of the people there said, one of the hardest decisions is letting go of my 2.5% interest rate to move out of state. And I totally understand that.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
We have so many clients that come to us and like, our interest rate is 3 or 2.8. And like, you're like, oh my God. And you just hold it and rent it forever. Like, man, what a win.
Yeah.
Right. What a win. So Charlene, thank you for sitting in this evening. I appreciate it. Mark says it was great to meet you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Love that. Charlene, Sky said in 2008,
she was in third grade. She's trying to prove a point. We got you, Sky.
Exactly. Jane says, just do Carvana. Jane, I'm with you. But what I was trying to do here is I was trying to establish that same relationship I had in Detroit. I was really trying to do that, but I'm not going to do that again. It was too much for me. And Daniel says, Dave Ramsey. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. Y'all, tonight was awesome. Thank you for letting me share and nerd out a little bit, if you will. Thank you for being welcoming to Charlene and recognizing that, like, again, because of you guys, our team has had to grow, right? We've not only added Charlene, we've added Sky, we've added Madison, we've added Ashley, and you guys just continue to give us opportunities to serve you. So thank you. And if that is you and you are considering relocating to the area and you want to have a legitimate conversation about what is happening here, your concerns, or how we can help you make this move a reality. We've helped over 100 families relocate to Tampa, including myself, right? Charlene's moved here.
Yep.
Stacey moved here, right? We're all at different levels in terms of like how long we've been here, but man, it's been a blessing to serve you guys, and we're just so grateful. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
hanging out with us as always. Abby says, we love Fired Up Juan. Just wait until Fired Up Juan and Fire Up Brown. Yeah, I am all about the tacos. I'm Taco Brothers. I'm in. Let's do it. Key says, thanks for all the info. Hope everyone has a great week. Absolutely, my brother. And Charlene, we sign off every single Tuesday. And we always say, go out,